Well, welcome to Organization Performance Review application. The objective of this lesson is to apply the key organization performance review concepts to your particular organization. And specifically, you will align the stakeholders, strategy, systems, and scorecard, and then create stoplight charts and analyze the results for each performance measure. And then develop a system of measures to frame the analysis of relationships between the measures. And finally, create project stoplights and analyze the results for each project. So we start with the alignment of the four key components, the four key cornerstones, if you will: stakeholders, strategy, system, and scorecard. Typically, you start with the strategy because there's usually a set of strategic goals, and you can lay those out and use those as a starting point. So you can really start anywhere you want, but we recommend starting with the strategy. And after the strategy is identified what systems are included in that strategic goal. And if you look at the action plans and the initiatives, the things you're planning on changing, that will help you identify the systems. And then identify what stakeholders are impacted by the goal or the systems. And finally, what are the performance measures that are being applied to those stakeholders? So you can download this worksheet and use this worksheet for each one of your strategic goals, or expand and use different formats. And we'll talk about those in just a minute. So an example might be your strategy might have a goal around increasing repeat and referral business. And the system that you might be focused on is the customer service system and improving that. And the stakeholders that might be most relevant to this goal and strategy are the customers themselves, the investors, and the workforce. And finally, what are the metrics you're using to understand and measure the quality or the goodness of the customer service system, and whether this strategy is working and getting better. And those might be things like repeat business, referral business, customer satisfaction survey, and all of those would give you insights into, are you getting the increased repeat and referral business, and the survey might help you understand some of the reasons why you may or may not be getting that. The next one might be a strategy around world-class workforce, decreasing workforce turnover. And the systems might have to do with leadership development and communication. Maybe you've identified that that's one of the key issues driving the poor turnover and the low level of satisfaction. And again, the primary stakeholders involved here would be the workforce, number one, and number two, how they're influencing customers and how that influences and creates value for investors. And so the types of measures you might include here in this scorecard are voluntary workforce turnover, the workforce satisfaction survey. Those would be two key elements. Third, you may have a governance type energy efficiency goal around increasing the use of solar energy by 50%. And maybe the systems that are involved with that might be the facilities upgrade and improving processes around the facilities and operating the power sources. And the stakeholders would be the natural environment, maybe society, customers who are experiencing the facilities, and the investors. And some of the scorecard may be energy usage by type or source. So those are just some examples of how you might align around a strategy and get the system components in place and the scorecard in place. And this allows you to have a conversation and understand what's going on. When you start reviewing how well we're doing on these scorecards, you can work backwards and see what the strategy was, what systems are involved, etc. So to complete your own alignment worksheet, you can download the one here and use it. There's 3 rows, so you're probably going to need to make several copies. And sometimes people will start with a draft and fill that out on paper using the small mini stickies. And some people prefer to complete this and fill this out using a Word table in like Microsoft Word or Google Docs or some other kind of word processing system. And others prefer a spreadsheet to go directly to using an Excel spreadsheet or some other type of spreadsheet application, and using the cells to form the table. And they find that sometimes it's easier to deal with numbers and actual turning those into stoplights eventually, which is the next step. Once you've developed your aligned piece and you've got the strategy, stakeholders, system scorecard all laid out on a table so that you can have a conversation around which ones belong to which and influence which, take that and shop it around with your colleagues, maybe your boss, subordinates, get their feedback, come back, incorporate that into a revised version, and then you're ready to move on. So the next step is to take a look at the performance stoplights that are associated with that aligned worksheet that you just developed. So taking the last column and the measures column, you can, if you're working in a spreadsheet or table, you can just expand on that or use a separate worksheet like this. And the first step is to list all the measures and identify the measures, and then identify the actual level and the stoplight for that level: green, good; low, yellow; poor, red. And the same way with the trend and the comparison. And all of these are based upon your criteria that you've established or adopted that defines what the stoplight levels are for these three dimensions. And then any analysis comments that you have about that. And so we went through several scenarios in the key concepts lesson around what the different combinations of level trend comparisons would look like and how you might analyze that. That's the type of information you would want to put into the fifth column on analysis. And so, for example, you list customer satisfaction. The level may be green, trend yellow, comparison red. Repeat business, level and trend might be yellow. Maybe you don't have a comparison. Package is dropped. Level is significantly below the target, and you don't have any other data. On-time delivery. So you can see that as you work through this, the data that you have and that you identified back in the scorecard application exercises will influence what you come up with here and what you're able to populate and fill in. And so it's going to affect your ability to analyze. So step one, as always, download the stoplight worksheet and then fill it out for all the metrics that came from that first worksheet, the alignment worksheet, all the scorecard metrics, put those into the stoplight worksheet and complete that. Then again, share that with colleagues, boss, subordinates, and get their feedback and incorporate that back in. And you're ready to move on and use that for an analysis. Don't forget to analyze each one of those and develop some comments and your analysis and put that in the last column. So to turn this into a system of stoplight measures, in the previous section we started with net income and we had gross sales, and we mapped out that diagram from the module that we worked out in the scorecard module, and we took that diagram and developed a stoplight diagram that shows the interconnections and the linkages. And so you're going to want to do the same thing. Go back to the module where you developed your diagram of the scorecard, and then take what you've learned from the previous two worksheets in this lesson with the alignment and the stoplights, and develop your own diagram, and so that you can have a conversation around the relationships. So then you've got a table with the level, trend, comparison stoplights that's lined up with the systems and the strategy and the stakeholders, and then you've got a diagram to go along with that that has the stoplight colors in a format that shows relationships between those different measures that are in the table. So to complete your own, of course, download the systems measures worksheet and develop your own diagram using, oftentimes people use flowcharting software, or they can do it right in sometimes slides software like a PowerPoint or something like that. You can develop the diagram and show the connections between it, and then color code it that makes sense with your table that you created in the previous worksheet. And then share that, get their feedback, and then, as always, incorporate it and iterate this diagram until you get a pretty good product. The last exercise is to do the project stoplights for all those initiatives. So with the strategy, there came initiatives and action plans and things that you're working on. And you want to take those and list those projects, identify the project, and then identify the whether it stands from a stoplight perspective on green, yellow, or red on schedule, scope, cost, and quality. And then take those patterns like we did in the key concepts lesson before this, look at the pattern of performance and come up with your own analysis and fill in what you think is going on and what you think the options are to discuss. And once you've got all of these put together and prepared, you've got a basis for conducting a review. So you list your projects and then populate the different schedule, scope, cost, and quality with the appropriate stoplight, and then add your analysis. And your analysis is probably going to be more in depth than just a few words like we put here, but you get the idea that you want to do what we were doing with those scenarios and lay out what it is your analysis and thoughts are. And all of that is in preparation to have a conversation and conduct a review. So once you've got your table and everything, you're ready to conduct reviews. So to get the project stoplight completed, download the worksheet and fill it in as we've discussed here, and then shop it around, get some feedback, and particularly on your analysis. So on these worksheets, when you're getting your colleagues and your boss to give you feedback, you want to look at how you analyzed it and what you came up with, and see what they think, see what their analysis would be. And at the same time, you can kind of teach them this approach to using stoplights, and that'll get them maybe on the same page with you. So once you've got all these worksheets completed, this is really the preparatory phase for having an actual conversation with the leadership team to review performance. And so you've got all the tools you need to now frame a conversation and have a dialogue and make some decisions about what to do next. So the next step, we'll take this and we'll assess how well you've done with this and how well your organization is doing organization performance reviews in the next lesson. We'll see you there.